Hello, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome here to the third qualifier of the Trios Tournament on the third day of the third month for some Call of Duty Warzone. AVGL's Collegiate Champion League coming at you today. My name's Trevor Caribou McNeil. Alongside me is Julius the JJ James Cass, and we are here for some more Warzone action. A lot has changed since our last qualifier. How you feeling for tonight's action, JJ?
Well, Caribou, I'm excited because I think that it's going to be even better than last week. I heard some pretty sweet insider info that our boy Phantom might be popping off for us tonight. So things might get real. We saw some slower gameplay in the first couple weeks, and that's okay, right? These guys might be still warming up. But second will it be there? No, he gets the one throw the semi down, you can see right there, even on your
towards the left side.
Man,
oh man, is this chopper taking a ton
across the board, and it was like I said, it still felt like they weren't quite giving it their all yet. They weren't showing their 100%, but maybe this week, maybe will they pull out all the strats, and will they really show us the big brains and frag out? I'm really excited to see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what sort of adaptations these players have made because of the new season coming in. A couple of new weapons here, but you know, outside of that new SMG, the LC-10, realistically, not a lot has changed. I mean, a lot of players still sticking with the same ARs. I mean, you start to see some AUGs coming in, some burst rifles. The M16 made a little bit of an appearance last week as well, but with this new, at least, adjustment, plus the ship, I mean, the zombie outbreak is a thing that players could interact with. And realistically, all you get out of that is a little bit better of a gas mask. So from the changes, not a lot's going to change. I still expect to see these players go to their trustworthy locations, their safe drops that they always know what is around them and where they want to go. But I look forward to seeing some of these guys that are going to frag out today, because we did see some glimpses of that last week, and I'm looking forward to more this week.
No doubt. Now, for those of us new here, we do have to go ahead and break down the format for you really quickly. It is a 5-week qualifier tournament, and we are currently on week 3. So this means that we have just a few more weeks to the grand final on March 24th. And it's all for $3,000 worth of a prize pool, 1,200 of that going to first place. So a lot of bucks on the line, Caribou, here for these guys, and a lot to fight for, and some pretty awesome stuff. They're going to be accumulating most of their points from kills as well as placement, and all of the points will roll over from week to week. And then, of course, the top teams will be moving on to the final, and the top 2 teams will duke it out for that big prize money. And so I'm excited. Of course, like I said, we've got still plenty of time left to go. We still have plenty of games left to see before we know who's really going to be making it that far. But let's take a moment also to talk about our sponsor, eShop, our Esport certified.com. Head on over to them. They're just exclusively for university and college students, but they are going to offer you the top, most premier esports gear you know and love. Your HyperX, your Steel Series, your Razor, your rig, all of that and more at an epic savings. You got to go check it out, esportcertified.com.
And especially, you know, this time of year, your tax return's going to start coming around. Need a little something to spend something extra on. It's a perfect place to do it at a discounted rate. So huge shout out to Esport Certified to help us out put this on, because as you mentioned as well, not only is the competition here with a wonderful sponsor that offers that sort of detail, but you do get that extra little pocket change at the end. There's $3,000 on the line when it comes down to the finals, plus with points carrying over from week to week. That is going to give these teams that much more opportunity, and gives at least a little bit of a reward for the chance that maybe you don't play as well as you wanted to last week. And with only 3 games to play in a custom lobby, you want to get as many points as you can. And if you're only getting 10, 15 points in 1 week, okay, well, change your strategy up, find something new, maybe play a little bit safer going into next week's competition, play for some more placement points, and see what you can do, because I think it's a 100-point threshold you got to hit if you want to make it to the finals next month. I guess this month. Yeah. We're in March now.
Yeah, time's already flying by in 2021. I can't even believe it. 2020 felt like it just flew by. So now, though, to add a little bit to what you just said, because I totally agree with you, but something to note as well is that the finals, or for the finals, the points reset. So even if you get a large lead leading up to the final, everything gets equalized, and now you have to prove yourself. So even if you barely make it into the final and this other team is crushing it, you know, leaps and bounds ahead, you still have a chance to level the playing field and duke it out in the final. And that, to me, is some pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, from where we're at right now, with Season 2 launching, it's pretty much going to be around this type of meta from now into the finals. I mean, 2.5 weeks, you're going to see a few hot fixes come in, maybe some small adjustments on a few attachments. But beyond that, not a lot is going to be altered in the actual loadouts. I mean, people are pretty much sticking to it. In the interview last week even, you know, we heard that the way that Warzone is going right now, it's a pretty relatively balanced meta where the only thing that makes or breaks a weapon is whatever attachments that you put on it. So all these players are going to get these options to use whatever weapons that they want, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier too about the new SMG, the LC10, right? Or,
yep.
Correct? Yeah. Okay, LC10. I just want to make sure I didn't blunder that, but LC10, it's been kind of exciting to watch it, you know, have some highlight montage plays already sprinkled throughout the community. But like you mentioned before, I think too, most people are still sticking with their loadouts, the tried and trusted loadouts that they've been using for quite a while, and they're still seeking out the regular engagements that they like to seek out. The W key style is still the meta, and so I don't really see a lot of big changes happening thus far in the season. But of course, it's still early, and there's still, you know, time will tell. And like you mentioned too, hot fixes may come in. Activision can do a lot of things to obviously change the state of the meta, but of course we'll have to see. In just a few moments though, I'm sure we're going to be dropping into our first game, but I'm excited because, as I mentioned before, as I, you know, kind of like sprinkled it in really quickly, but then we moved on, I got some insider info before the broadcast that Phantom, who already had done some pretty good stuff last week, is now coming back with a vengeance and is feeling good. And I'm excited to see what he's got in store for us.
Yeah, you talked about that last week play, and the one that immediately comes to mind was at that in-game situation out there in the middle of the field to the west of, or to the east rather, of military base, kind of out in that open area around those hangars. Just to hop on the train, you have the ice field that's right there down into the ravine. Hops on the train, gets on the rotation without making any sound, hops off, gets a free kill, picks up one more on a player that's stuck in between him and someone else that's up on the hilltop. And then on the push in a 1v2 situation is utilizing that player's loot, you know, being able to pick up the sniper rifle, at least get an armor break, able to pick up the SMG on the player pushing him, gets the down there, but unfortunately gets picked off just because you don't have the resources and fast enough reaction to be able to get to that. So we've seen glimpses of excellence already, and I am excited to be able to take that oversight, that omnipotent third person to watch him play, because that was just a glimpse of some raw talent.
No doubt. Bird's eye view, best view for sure. And I think too, to your point, Phantom, even though he didn't win that, so to speak, that game, he still won a lot in my heart about how good of a player he is. You mentioned his awareness and his ability to quick switch to weapons on the ground. Being able to have eyes in multiple places is extremely useful in Warzone. Obviously, you have to have eyes in the back of your head pretty much. And so Phantom proving that he's aware, he can change it up, he can adapt whenever the situation calls for it. And he, like you mentioned too, he's able to hit the shots when he needs to as well. He almost had the 1v3, and had he just had a good enough flick, you know, again, still warming up, right? Still getting back in the swing of things, maybe, right? Maybe he clutches that this week or next week, and maybe we see him just get a Warzone victory.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And, you know, something that we did touch on briefly last week, you know, the players bringing those rifles in, the Marksman rifles, the Car 98s to come into this one is kind of curious in the sense that you don't see it a lot in those high level kill races.
I love the car.
damn, is it effective when you get your shots. I mean, these players are experienced with it, and they know exactly what they need to do with the bullet drop and the trajectories. And you see so many montage clips and so many highlight reels of getting the shots out of the Jeeps and out of the helicopters with the Car 98. And it is all reliable. And I love seeing these players bust it out and having that confidence that they're going to be able to walk away not only with a few kills under their belt, but with as many placement points as they can, if not the Warzone victory.
No doubt. And I think that it is exciting to watch, at least for me personally, to see these guys pull out the car and really dome kids and really pull out these, fun quick scope kind of highlight plays and take people's heads off. I think that's kind of gives me a little bit of nostalgia, or thinking back to when I would do the same. And even as old of a game as Halo, I love the sniper rifle in Halo. And it's just it's always fun. It's always more of a skillful play when you can pull out the sniper in close quarters or in quick combat and still hit your shot. Like, I mean, what more can you say after that, right?
And at the very least, even if you're not able to hit those, or like you get those long shots, there's the opportunity. You just turn the corner and you're going to barrel stuff somebody. And there's something incredibly satisfying about just pulling the trigger, not even having to aim down sights. And the other player on the other end is mad because that's a guaranteed one shot down. And there's just nothing they can do about it because you're just simply better. And that's kind of, I guess, taking the place of the shotguns because nobody really rolls with the shotties anymore. It's all ARs, SMGs, and now you'll see a few rifles here and there for the players that are brave enough to do so. But, without any shotguns coming through, and there was no changes in the Season 2 update to really bring shotguns back, which is thanks for that one because
no one likes
was a shotgun meta annoying. So annoying. And I'm so happy that we haven't had anything, at least yet. There was a very brief time with the Jack 12 where the Street Sweeper came in with the drum mag, and it was just anything under 30 meters away, semi-automatic, just smashing that trigger, and they didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, that was never fun. And in most games, whenever shotguns are meta, similarly to Valorant right now, their meta has a lot of shotgun play, and it's so frustrating. It's true. It becomes a game where it feels a lot less skill based. It feels a lot more cheesy. It feels a lot more, or should I say, less exciting to watch. And so I'm glad that Activision has taken some really good steps to keep the shotguns away from the meta game, and now the pro players can show off their real raw skills and show off their ability with their long shot abilities, like you said, with the rifles, but also the close combat when they pull out the SMGs, when they can still rifle from up close. It's always exciting to see those kinds of, adaptable plays to go from long range to short range or even mid range.
Some of the development out of that, with this AUG coming in, there's some rotating around the TikTok world that have these busted builds and these burst rifles for whatever reason.
I don't have TikTok, man. You gotta fill me in. Whatever you see on TikTok, you gotta let me know.
I don't watch them. I just watch the content creators that are like, yo, YouTube, I found this build on TikTok. And then they just go into Warzone and they just fry with it. And the AUG is the new one that's circulating. A lot of people using the M16. We saw a few of them pop up last week. But those two weapons,
I was really surprised by that.
Yeah, you get the 3x, 4x scope on either one of them, and apparently just no recoil whatsoever, and you're just lasering people at a range that a marksman rifle would do so. So now you're giving this sort of option to run with an AR as opposed to taking a marksman rifle, and you can have that range, plus the SMG, you get that time to kill, the rapid fire coming in on the side pocket, and that's all you can ask for to just absolutely snowplow your way through anyone that walks in front of you.
Okay, but I'll play devil's advocate for a second and ask, why would you run the M16 and would do what you just said when the car can just take off ahead better than the M16 anyways, and you can run the same 2 times, 4 times, or even, 1 times, whatever floats your boat. And if you're just quick enough and you got the aim, that's just the better gun to use. And that's why I personally, of course, it's just my opinion, but I personally really enjoy whenever I see a car 98 in a build, because that's my build. So I don't know, we'll see if we see more M16 play today, more Car 98 play, or neither. We might just see some classic FFAR or LC10. Like, maybe that might be somebody's, new primary weapon. You never know.
Yeah. Not even to mention the Farah 83 that came out in season 2. I mean, there's a handful of people that have been using that as well, and plus some people just using it because of the reactive camo, which is probably the coolest thing that this game has released, and it's been out for about a year now for Warzone, and that reactive camo single-handedly is probably the coolest thing that Warzone's done, just because it looks so good. And I mean, if not that what they're going to go with just for the pure cosmetic appeal, then maybe that AR is going to be. But to counter the point of maybe using the Car 98 versus that range burst rifle, looking into what sort of approach you can have, the only reason I would say I would probably prefer the burst over the marksman rifle is because of the fact that you can just kind of 2-tap, 3-tap, just continually put more fire down range at a faster rate, and that AUG or that M16 build is going to 2-tap anybody. I mean, 2 burst and they're going to be down. So it's up to personal preference. And
it's a noob-friendly weapon.
Make an
just
argument.
Say it. Just say it. It's a more noob-friendly weapon. Yeah, you're right.
You're not wrong. I'm not going to say it, but
no, it's fine though. I actually totally think a lot of what you just said was very valid. It makes sense. And yeah, if you definitely are not going to be able to be confident with the Car 98 in your hand, and you just don't think you're going to be able to hit those shots, then yeah, just run the M16. And I think that for a while, the M16, I mean, that's a shout out to like Modern Warfare 2. I remember when Modern Warfare 2, or just Modern Warfare actually, original Modern Warfare was just dominated by the M16 in multiplayer, and it's so fun to see these guns sometimes get recycled, over the years, and see like play back in the meta and stuff. And obviously it's a bit of a different gun now, but it's cool. I'm excited though. Obviously we're speculating a bunch about what we might see and what we think we should see, and then of course these guys could just pull out some 5-head new thing that we've never seen and leave us pog champing the whole time. So I'm excited either way, and in a few moments we should have a game for you, and they should be dropping in momentarily. We're just getting them in lobby.
Oh yeah, it's like wrangling headless chickens, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when in custom lobbies. That is another really cool thing that we're able to do, is to get custom lobbies into this one. But
that's nice.
We are going to be making our way here into Verdansk very shortly, like you said. One of the other things we really didn't talk about with the season update is, sure, there is that new POI. You do have the shipwreck down there at the southernmost point of the map. All of the bunkers have been closed out. The subway stations have been closed out. And there's a few missile silos that have now opened up around. There's 3 or 4 of them around the map that have opened up. And there's really nothing spectacular to them. It'll be Easter egg stuff, when that time does come. And they're just going to start to do some cool things around it. But beyond that, really not a lot of changes to the map, and expect players, that's why I said, just to go to their original places that they're accustomed to.
I would agree, and I think that one of the little Easter eggs that I kind of looked into and noticed is that around the map you'll see these computer screens with a kind of a zombie head on it and a little percentage bar, and that will gradually increase as the season goes on, because I think it's right now at 5%. So it's going to gradually get more and more as the zombies kind of spread throughout the map, because it's only in 5% of the map currently. If you do the math, I'm not going to do the math for you guys, but look it up.
I don't want to do the math.
But anyways, yeah, it's exciting stuff. I really think that Activision is doing great things with Warzone. I think that Warzone's becoming a lot more fun and unique, and it's got a lot of different things in it. And I like the balance changes, like we just mentioned earlier. The balance changes have felt good, and the season feels good so far. So here we go, Caribou. We're in game now. Finally got some gameplay for you guys, and it looks like, I think it's Weeks. I'm not sure who's on.
Yeah,
Weeks here.
Mr. Weeks already being hunted. Kaiser showing up here. That is currently owning that bounty, hunting down Mr. Weeks. I think Kaiser ended up with the top 3 finish last week, and was the other KU that I was not looking for Kansas University, but I don't think Kansas is in this one. But Kaiser's made their names around the block a time or two here in the last year, and they popped up around the board in generic esports in general. I mean, regardless of title, Rocket League. I've seen them, I think, in a few Valorant, and this is going to be, making their name here into Warzone. This is going to be curious what their next move's going to be. in esports, because I mean they're already making quite the statement of their esports program, and with the finish like we saw last week out of the leaderboard, looking to see what the next move's going to be for them to try to move up to the top slot. But that circle, I don't know if you saw that, but that's horrible.
Yeah, no, that is a really bad one indeed. I'm not a fan. Looks like they're gonna have to head towards stadium here, and you might obviously find some contact. I can't really tell exactly. I think it looks like, okay, it's like 36 people still remaining, so plenty of people. Obviously, I say that and it sounds funny because you're like 36, that's plenty of people, but it's like, yeah, that's the full lobby in this, guys. Because it is a custom lobby and these guys are just playing against each other. They're not playing in randoms. This is not a kill race like that. They're playing against each other, so it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, that lobby going to be pulling all the way to the south side, so I guess if players are interested in getting the way, ooh, that's a good little W key straight in.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say he didn't know. He obviously didn't hear the steps. He didn't know what was coming, and unfortunately, he took the L on that one.
Yeah, just to stadium dangerous in that aspect, because now, you know, since they opened it up however long ago, that it's going to be just the direction of there's so many levels you have to deal with the staircases, with the second floor being opened up, plus, you know, if there's anyone on the rooftop. So a lot of angles you got to cover, especially when you're being hunted, but at least getting the chopper to be able to then move out and make their way down here to the south side, which is Prison actually is about the southernmost point of the map, but it's about the central point of the circle. So if there are players that were interested in making that drop to the new POI on the shipwreck, well, they're safe enough to be in the zone. But like I said, you know, outside of going there, there's really not a lot of benefit to actually going.
We'll have to see if they do make the decision to go, and right now in prison, and gonna try to see if they can find whatever loot they can. Might be hearing some things nearby, probably just their teammates, but you never know. There's always sometimes rats lingering in the area, and it's not my favorite type of gameplay, but it exists out there. Nonetheless, though, it looks like someone's down already, so they're gonna have to go on a rescue mission. In the rescue helicopter we go, and yep, there's a squad, but oh my goodness, gets immediately down, and that'll be the end of him. Team just a night. Wait, I can't tell actually whether we switched perspectives or is this the same guy who just got res.
That's just that's a pickup there.
Okay,
so
okay.
Have,
I couldn't tell for a second. Thank you.
Down, but
yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. It looked like he just got. Well, maybe it's because we saw a glimpse of the enemy's perspective for a second, so it looked like it was just final or finished. I couldn't tell.
Definitely took one down that's going to be going to the gulag, but at least having this helicopter here, giving that mobility and option to just move around. But I mean, expecting that there is going to be a team here in prison because of just where it is in relation to the circle. It's like teammate going to be coming back out of the gulag here. Problem is, they just got to find out where these shots are coming from. And in fact, they don't have their loadouts, but stopping power loaded in this AR. Just sit here and stare at the ladder all day long, I guess.
Yeah, there's that M16 too, like you mentioned from before. So already you're winning the battle of M16 versus car. But I would imagine that these guys are just going to kind of chill out. They don't have any information. Oh, maybe we are going to get a live ping there. So I do believe they're going to play it slow because as you mentioned, they don't even have their loadouts really. So they're just doing probably just an evacuation, I would imagine.
Yeah, just gotta find a reset for this. I mean, looking for the angle, just safe pickup here. The chopper. This is some A1 piloting skills. Someone's been playing Flight Simulator in their off time to get themselves out of this one. But, I mean, the problem with the south point of the map is that outside of farmland, I mean, port is, I think, still inside of that first zone. There's really not a lot that's very interesting or anywhere that's reliable for solid loot that you can go to. I mean, this is pretty sparse area. A lot of open area as well.
True. And this is going to mean that it's going to be probably some more time before you can really be fully looted. But was that a loadout that just dropped?
It is on the way.
Yeah. All right. So then now, yeah, they're gonna probably feel good now after this. Have the loadouts. Obviously gonna get right back into the chopper we go. And the rotation inbound. Now where is obviously the question. Things already going out.
I think at this point, the where is going to be wherever their loadout goes. The second load. I mean, they get their first one, which I'm assuming it's still their first one that they're picking up. So now they have their
They
overkill.
still need their second set of perks, yeah.
Yep. So that'll probably be the next angle they take. I mean, they pick up a contract along the way as well, so because just that inherent knowledge of where these teams are going to be at, where any other players might be. Try to pick up as many points as they can. About 2 points per kill, so every single one's going to matter.
No doubt. And I love how these guys are moving in sync. These guys are so coordinated. It looks like, you know, they've obviously been practicing since last week, probably playing a ton of hours of Warzone, so they're ready. They look like they've come prepared to play. And it's exciting that they were able to get out of that sticky situation at prison that was looking like they could have easily been done in, but they managed to get out of there pretty safely. And did they use one gulag?
I think they've only got one down so far.
Yeah, one gulag.
Oh, second class is picked up, man. I was about to say, if you hold on to that Strela, you are a brave soul.
The switch comes in, and now will they get the? Because we mentioned this last week a lot. Yes, well, they got a UAV. It looks like, but they. I want to see some airstrikes.
Yeah, I think this early on, you can't imagine they're going to hold on to it. This is just a point to try to get as much information as you can, try to find anybody outside of the bounty that you've picked up here. But with zone going to be finally closing in, what seems like an eternity later, call in that UAV, provide some overwatch, make your rotation around downtown, see if you can find anybody in here. And it's just a matter of where is anybody and everybody at? You see a flare where someone got bought back at, and that's about the extent of knowledge you can. I mean, they obviously don't have their second loadouts because red dots popping up on radar, so no ghosts here. Take the high ground, see what they can do.
Yeah, high ground, obviously the best ground. And of course, too, everything below you not gonna really have the foresight to really look that far up and kind of spot you. So such a safe area to be. These guys know it. And of course, too, they are playing in a tournament against other guys who are also playing in a tournament. So, you know, not too terribly safe, of course.
Yeah, I mean, and at least they still have at least a little bit of range here. It looks like a couple of them with that M16, that scope, that's just going to help them out. At the very least, to just be able to hit shots, if not to just get the information on where some of these players are. Like this little move here onto the windowsill. Very curious rotation. You don't see a lot of, but I mean, it just shows the experience that these guys have in Verdansk and what the angles that they can take on this, and expecting someone's going to be pushing up on them, knowing that they've landed on this building. Going for the pincer here, but nobody between them.
Well, here we see how many stairs there are, and always just in one building. And now peeking his head out of a window, and I think he's gonna drop. Yeah, just get down to the bottom and further investigate. Do we see anybody on this corner pop out? I mean, this guy's got to be expert lurker. I mean, he's just dodging.
What if they just popped dead silence and just left?
Oh, that.
Yeah, that team is just nowhere to be found. I mean, you kept your Overwatch up top where, someone's just keeping an eye on where everyone's at. But, I mean, just the team that was there is no longer there unless they just went into bank across the street and decided to hole up there. Get some pings coming out. You hear a few shots, but irrespective of each other's distance. I see you, you see me, okay.
Yeah, neither squad really needing to feel any sense of urgency quite yet. There's still so many people left. They don't want to do anything too aggressive, getting caught in a crossfire, get third-partied, and just there goes your run. So making the right choice, continue to just loot it up, kind of hang out.
What a boring zone.
Yeah.
I mean, just from a player perspective, this is just because nobody goes down here ever. I mean, maybe you go down there last week when the ship just hits the shore, but nobody goes to the east side. You'll have some psychopaths that drop downtown because that something is wrong with their mental stability, and they just crave that action. And I respect anyone that does that because I simply just couldn't. I cannot handle the chaos that is downtown. But outside of that, just the east side of the map, the southeast, there's just nothing that people really care about out here.
Well, it would seem that to be the case. The Caribou, I mean, it is just so dead quiet out here, and it's just so slow right now. You know, obviously we anticipate this being such a small number of people in a lobby, right? The entire lobby is usually no more than 40. So, it's still gonna already be a very slow game, but this game in particular has felt very slow.
Yeah, just haven't seen a lot. I mean, we've seen a few top shots here and there, and I'm gonna start to see a little bit of at least a hey, how are ya? Well, here's your time to shine. I've got 2 M16s down, and now you got your 1 marksman rifle. So, it's your time to shine, JJ.
Well, here we go. Marksman rifle is the rifle that I like to see in a player's hands when I get to cast them. Now looking, of course, up at the rooftop near them. Have to be wary of that rooftop, of course, because that is one of the only buildings that has high ground on you, so can very easily become prey to anyone taking up a nest up there.
They're just not even peeking. I mean, you have the rifle in hand, waiting on the zone to come in. You're starting to continue to pull to the southeast side of the map, and just more people going to continue to try to walk this way, see if you can get any picks in between A and B. Pick up the buy station. They don't even have that much money to realistically, cash in on a lot of resources. I mean, they pulled up on one. Probably going to hold up on as many UAVs as they could possibly get. But what we saw last week, everyone getting their first and second loadouts rather quickly. You could expect a lot of these people are going to be ghosted.
Oh, well, just like that, gets taken down, but not out yet. So has to try to get to cover as quickly as possible. Now, of course, his teammates taking refuge here in this house, peeking out the door, very carefully sees one, starts to pelt him with that M16, and again, very easy to do if he can hit the shots, though. Caribou, no, he gets taken down, and immediately he's out of there. But now, can this last man standing get the job done? Quickly throws the semi, has to keep rotating around, takes the opportunity, of course, to play it on up and try to get the rotation around. Will his enemy know? Pulls out the heartbeat as well, but now getting pushed. And no, the jump shots are too good. Thankfully, though, we did get his teammate out of the gulag.
Yeah, so yeah, at least a +1 coming back, and now from that other team, they're going to get the buyback on the teammate that did get fooled. We'll see Mr. Weeks dropping back into this one, knowing that there's going to be people there. Probably just going to want to avoid that one outright altogether. Go for a contract of some kind, because the rest of your team does not have any opportunity to come back unless you are generous enough to buy them. Back to the rooftop, see what you can get. Pick up the SMG here. Another flare coming up. You get line of sight on him, but this is not a fight you want to take. Just play it slow, take your time, go back, get your loadie. Can't wait that long, though. Storm's coming.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh, and now you're spotted.
There, yep. Yeah, the glint is there. And rightfully so, says, I'm going to rotate over and around the long way, but not without taking a few shots to the side first. But not too terribly bad, although he doesn't have any armor plates to his name.
Yeah, not the healthiest of position to be in, for sure, especially, in downtown. So many alleyways, so many doorways. Knowing there's a full squad of 3 that is relatively close to you, I mean, at the most a couple blocks away. And I'm sure they're going to be keeping an eye out in this direction. I think you saw at least somebody crossing the road down the street, so at least putting distance in. This is the smartest play you can do to try to put some ground between you and where that other team is at. Just not have a lot to work with here. I mean, you get a Pellington and you're in 4. It's not awful, but it's not great. That helps.
Yeah, that definitely helps. Gets that airstrike. And that's that AUG in hand. And as you mentioned before too, the AUG with attachments, and it can really be the sharpshooter of a gun that you need to just take people down as a one-man team. Calls in that airstrike.
Oh boy!
Randomly, and yeah, oh boy is correct, as he stumbles upon not a friendly there, quite the opposite, and gets taken down. That'll be the end of that run for them. But now on to the next. This is the man, the myth from last week, Thugger on screen, right?
Yep. And now quickly realizing exactly why he just saw Mr. Weeks running in that direction into his awaiting arms, because there's somebody over there at that restaurant that is scoped in on this area. That's why the airstrike got called in there the first time around. You see his teammates up top trying to return some fire. One of them actually gets down here, so trying to get some sort of answer. But this is just a problematic situation now because of where we're at. In the same conversation we talked about last week in trying to cross the river or the open area in the middle, this is the same song and dance where you have the dam here. You got a big old open concrete ravine with not a lot of cover, and just fingers crossed you make it across the road safe.
I'll drive.
Yeah, and I think that's a great idea. I think this circle, of course, not in the best of places, like you already have mentioned, and it's just probably going to be the best play to just play it slow, play it very methodical. These guys have an SUV in hand. They obviously need to use it, and I would imagine that these guys know how to play the end game, the late game, very well. Obviously, Thugger's played plenty of Warzone. This guy, very, very good. We saw him last week pull off some pretty good plays. So I'm expecting to see big things this week from him.
As we spectating on them, and he's got 3 kills to his name so far. Not sure what the teammates got, but representing the Minnesota Rocker, a little CDL love, which is a thing that I'm always a huge proponent of, and giving that love
is
to
a Rocker
actual
player.
esports.
I was not sure.
At least a fan.
Oh, I was about to say, I didn't want, I wasn't sure if he was a fan or if he was actually maybe someone from the CDL, so I just didn't want to make the assumption. I was just going to let you be my expert analyst that you are on that one, and provide me that info.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love. I mean, Rocket League does the same thing, just watching these supports of esports orgs and then put it into their game for people to buy and support. I mean, League of Legends does the same thing with the icons and the skins that they did every once in a while. So that's a thing that I love to see game developers do, and support the teams in the esports orgs and at least give a little something back.
Requesting recon.
Well, now trying to figure out where they go next. I see a loadout in the distance there. Will they go near it? Obviously, even if you have everything that you need, as including your perks, of course, you can just camp loadouts. You can just sit there and expect to see someone rotate towards it or near it, and you pretty much catch them in your nest, or I mean, in your web.
See where this zone starts to close in. Still a lot of open area, starting to pull away from a lot of these buildings, so gonna be pretty difficult to work with here. A lot of trees up there on the ridge. Start to see a little bit of elevation change that you have to call in. UAV is going to be coming in as well. Expected, as I said last time around. I mean, going to see a lot of people that's already ghosted up. Pretty much all of the teams get their first and second loadout by the time first zone starts to come in, just because of how uncontested these drops are. Be able to get one lurking in the grass. Maybe 2.
Yeah, it's looking like 2 is the right answer, but he gets the back of 1, but doesn't get any shots. I don't see any hit markers, but I think maybe his teammates get it all. Like, I guess calculated or whatever, but gets the kills, or his team gets the kills. He's got 5 now to his name, though, I believe. And so I think these guys are looking poised. These guys are looking good to potentially win this game.
not in too bad of a position here. Coming down single digits. 5 squads outside of this one, so 4 squads up, and it looks like 5 other players out of this, unless that's an 8. It's a 6 or an 8. I can't tell which. But either way, not a lot of players left alive.
It's an 8. I think it's an 8. It is hard to tell though. But yes, indeed, not a lot of players alive. It's going to be a very much a standoff here in this final circle. I think everyone is kind of creeping up to it, not trying to force anything.
You get something.
Yep. Put some shots down, but he gets a few hit markers, and immediately he's back on it, watching this truck like a hawk. Of course, airstrike gonna go out as well. Was that a cluster strike? I believe that was a cluster strike.
Yep. Just put a little extra pressure on top, making sure the heartbeat's clear on the backside, because this team, just the game sense, they have a pretty good idea as to where anyone's going to be. They've already cleared out this portion of the map. They don't have to worry about anybody that's sneaking up behind them, and just keeping everything in front of them. I like this play, just with the comms to get them out, crack the armor, put the pressure on. They get it down and a team wipe there, so that's a +1. 3 other players and 2 squads, so a 3-on-2-on-1 it looks like to close this one up.
Yeah, this is looking like a pretty solid dub for these guys. And I don't know who's on the other side here. Imagine if it's Phantom. I'm not sure. But it's not over till it's over. Now getting some hit markers though there, and I guess he's just gonna get the Warzone victory. I guess the teammates were just really coming in clutch there for that one, and we didn't really have enough time to switch perspectives there. But congratulations to Thugger and company. They're gonna take the first Warzone victory of the day.
Yeah, and looking pretty good doing so. I mean, you give credit to their game sense at the end of that one. They just knew kind of where everybody was already at. They knew where they had to play from. You have cover around you. You have the rocks, the trees, and the bushes. So at least you're kind of hidden from there. You're able to get the eyes on, holding yourself into zones so you don't have to worry about moving anywhere. You can let everyone else kind of come to you. And with only 3 other players to worry about, that's all you can ask for from a team perspective, where you have all 3 of your teammates alive and everything's in front of you. It's just up to you to walk away with that victory.
Yeah, they played that very, very well, as you just said, keeping everyone in front of them. Their backs were very often to the zone, which is the most intelligent thing you could do in that situation. And their rotational play was very well done. I mean, they knew what they needed to do, even after they would get into trouble or need some kind of like to make an audible play they would have to make. They would do it, and they were quick. They didn't spend a lot of time thinking, which is very important, obviously, in Warzone. So it's really exciting to see that these guys are looking like they've come prepared in game 1 of this week, right? Last week we saw a little bit of a lackluster performance in game 1, or maybe not even lackluster, but just still warming up, still kind of getting the jitters out. But this week, I mean, guys are looking a lot sharper, a lot more ready, and that must mean that we're gonna have some much more fiercer competition down the road.
Yeah, and looking to see, as these teams do really step up on this, and see what their move is going to be heading in from game 1 to game 2. Fingers crossed, a little bit more favorable of a lobby, or at least a zone in a circle as to which direction it goes, because everybody is going to have to rotate to that zone. No one's going to be going prison. No one's going to drop port. I mean, maybe people dropping downtown have at least a little bit less ground to cover, but no one's in lumber, no one's in farmland. Everyone else has to make their way. The whole lobby was not there. So fingers crossed, a little more favorable for these teams going into the second one, a little more central, which was, it took us a couple of games last week as well to do the same thing. The first one went, way northeast. The second one went way southwest. And then finally by game 3, we got at least a central circle. So I'm hoping we get that in game 2 this time around at least.
Yeah. Well, of course, we have more Warzone action ahead of you after this quick and short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back. Mission in the rescue helicopter we go, and yep, there's a squad, but oh my goodness, gets immediately down and provide me that info.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love. I mean, Rocket League does the same thing. Just watch these supports of esports orgs, and then pretty much all of the teams get their first and second loadout by the
In 2020, we interrupted your regularly scheduled programming to bring you $250,000 worth of scholarships through Intel Inspires. Now, in 2021, we are the regularly scheduled programming. We are proud to announce the new AVGL high school program, backed by a myriad of colleges, influencers, and esports professionals. Up to $400,000 worth of scholarships, paid esports internships, content creator camps, and 50+ exclusive tournaments and events. We know the ropes, and after the experience granted to us through Intel Inspires, we're no longer tying knots, we're tying bows. Because esports isn't about skill, it's not about age, it's not even about experience, it's about attitude. And we at the AVGL are dedicated to bringing that attitude from the vault of the esports corporations and into your classroom. If there's one thing we've learned from a year at the forefront of collegiate esports, it's that professional gaming doesn't start with us. It starts with you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the AVGL Collegiate Champions League in week 3, no less, of our Warzone action. And my name is JJ, joined alongside me, Caribou. We've been your commentators for the day. How are we doing, Caribou?
Doing pretty good. I'm ready for another game. And, you know, of course, all of this being put on by the phenomenal people at AVGL and everyone behind the scenes. But, of course, couldn't give enough credit to Esport Certified. You can go to esportcertified.com where you can find all of the gaming gear that you need exclusively for those university students. You can figure out the premier esports gear from Razer, SteelSeries, HyperX, Rig, you name it, all at an epic savings, at epic cost, epic prices. A huge shout out to them to be able to give us support into this Collegiate Champions League. We get into game number 2.
Yeah, of course. Don't forget to check them out. We will be heading into games shortly, though, Caribou, and I'm excited because we've already saw one game of exciting stuff from Thugger, the man who we interviewed from last week, who was just the MVP and really proving himself already in week 1. Now in week 2, coming out strong in our game 1 and pulling off a Warzone victory with 6 frags, I think, right? No, that's not, it's not bad it's not bad. You know, obviously I want to see him break the double digits today, but not bad for a game 1.
You can't complain about that. I mean, and looking at the leaderboard, if the website doesn't lie to me, then it tells me that this whole squad is sitting at the top of the leaderboard. So curious to see what their next move is going to be as they continue on into this second game, awaiting our spectators to get in to figure out where we're going to start. So we do get into the second game here to find out where we'll start at. But I mean, already with Thugger and them being able to sit at the top of the leaderboard is a great start after one game and looking to continue the success into game number 2.
Yeah, why wouldn't you be? I mean, obviously all the confidence in the world after game number 1, and rightfully so. You've come to play, you're in a tournament, and you want to be in best form, best shape as quickly as possible. If these guys have already been playing for today, maybe a little bit. I mean, I am a fervent believer of practicing a little bit before a tournament, but not too much, not anything crazy, not anything to where you want to, or where you end up being fatigued if you make it to the final. But definitely getting a little warm, a little hot is very, very helpful leading into a tournament. And it looks like these guys have done that.
Yeah, looking what their move's going to be, you know, starting out early on. Circle pretty much all-inclusive except for where we finished in the last game, which is more than okay by me, in my opinion, because I just could be happy avoiding the southeast quadrant of the map for the rest of time. But it's like cash stacking up, see what they can do to get their loadout earlier rather than later. And I mean, just a matter of time before they do get to this, but playing it safe, at least wondering if they know that there's going to be someone pretty close to them. And they do.
Yeah, there you see the hit markers there, and not quite an armor break. He's going to throw the utility and doesn't get any hit markers from that either. So makes the right call. I'm just going to rotate around. Doesn't want to do anything too aggressive. Finds a different position, though, to peek from. And, of course, he's kind of toying between the ideas of, do I W key? Do I kind of hold position and try to get some damage from downrange? Because obviously if you W key into the wrong building, into the wrong house, you might be facing some trouble. But now find someone over to his right, immediately gets into the building, trying to, I think, intercept him, but live ping now coming through. And there he is, armor break on 1, but there's actually 2 right in front of him. Throws the molly, but not gonna be enough. I think he threw it just a tad bit too far. And now his teammate gonna have to try to come bail him out. Finds the last remaining member, takes him down. And I think that was a final team kill. I couldn't tell.
It's a pretty good. There's at least 2 in there. There's a whole lot of loot to work with. I didn't see the team wipe in the feed, so I don't know if that was actually the full squad wipe on this. But you know, the fact you're able to just roll in like that, it's curious that they just didn't hear him coming through that doorway. But
maybe he thought he was gonna get the res off in time. I mean,
I don't know.
That was all she wrote, though. Now out the window, onto bigger and better things. And of course, now as we switch perspectives, we see Chopper in air looking Kind of rough. Oh, getting pushed though now. And oh, in so much trouble. Gets immediately knocked and out. Has the gulag though, presumably. So not completely out just yet. And now looks like we're spectating someone who just got out of the gulag and now dropping down, but might be in some dangerous waters as I heard some shots headed the direction of him.
Yeah, not going to be able to float on this one, which I'm sure probably would have been a better situation just to try to float as long as you can. See, maybe you can stay up long enough, but still a decent amount of time before loadout's going to start to come in. So see what the move's going to be, but looking to see another firefight here around the same old part of the map on Promenade. A few shots going out, traded across, but at least smart enough to got to duck back into cover, find a different angle, find a better angle. But with loadouts already in hand, at least you're working with something that you're comfortable with.
34 players remaining, make that 33 as one more just went down. Still a pretty sizable lobby. Another player coming back from the gulag here, and I think, yeah, the last remaining squad member for this squad also has their gulag. So if they win that, you get the full squad reset, and you know, things are looking better for you. You're not feeling so bad. Obviously losing your gulag kind of early would matter or mean something in a normal Warzone victory, right? But in this particular situation, in this tournament, the lobbies are already so small, so you don't really need to worry about saving your gulag or preserving it. Really, you want to just get in there, you know, play smart obviously, but still try to W key as much as possible, knowing you have that gulag in your back pocket, feeling the confidence.
And the way I'm going to accredit this is the fact that you're looking at, you know, this is the Champions League. These guys are not going to settle just for sitting around in a corner, sitting in a storage shed for a majority of the map. They want to go out. They want to find players. They want to try to get as many kills as they can, try to stack up those points. I mean, sure, you get a lot for a win, 25 points for the Warzone victory, but I mean, 2 points per kill. There's not a lot of those points on the board. It's every single one that you can get is at least 2 more points that someone else in the lobby's not going to get.
Very true. Very true. It's all about denying also points from your opponent, because now you're increasing your chances of moving up in the leaderboards and at the same time simultaneously, right, decreasing their chances of moving up. It's actually really great being able to have a tournament like this with custom lobbies, with everyone fighting against each other and not just, you know, your standard kill race. So very, very excited to see what's in store for us next, Caribou.
Yeah, and a lot of this, I mean, early game is just going to be a lot of sit and wait, kind of figure out where everybody's at. You'll see some people stocking up on their loadouts first and second. Now you start to see some investment into UAVs, but at this point, it's just going to be, you know, figure out where everyone's at, and if you can get a few along the way, I mean, finding some of these squads that are shorthanded, you know, anyone that is going duos into trios or any solo players that happen to be in this. But first zone is coming to a close here in the next 20 seconds. And the second one is going to be a huge telltale as to where these teams are now going to start to put priority on their rotation.
Yeah, that's definitely the question to be back now. And loadouts being dropped on top of this building, rightfully so. I always try to drop my loadouts right on top of a building too. Feels like the safest spot to drop them, right? But now might be in trouble here as we switch back to the main perspective. Ooh, we have one player already downed, and now the red's gonna come through though, as they are very safe on this building, on this roof.
Yeah, there's good amount of action around here. Teammate gonna have to come down, at least get the help. There you go. That's just a green M16 too. That's not even their own loadout weapon. So teammate with, or a team with loadouts taking this fight and losing out to some ground loot. Not a good look.
Well, you know, still the M16. You know, if you got the aim, you got the pull down, you can hit the head. You got the shots. You're good. But now with the dead silence, though, I would love to see him pick up a, you know, he's got the FFAR now, which is great. Just get in there, W key, and really sneak up on somebody and maybe get a down or two. That would be some really exciting gameplay to watch. Of course, though, lobby getting smaller and smaller very slowly, actually, as I continue to look up at the players. It's not moving down as quickly as I would expect in a normal Warzone match. So it's a little odd sometimes to kind of like gander back at the or at the player count, and it's kind of hasn't moved in like a few minutes, and you're just like, well, this is weird.
Yeah, and you know, looking at some of these players, you know, with the loadouts that they're running, of course, we talk about the patches and the adjustments these players are going to have to make with the weapons that they take. Looking at the FFAR in hand, I mean, you have that agency suppressor on there, which, thanks to the hotfix patch today, is able to get reverted back to the same loadout that everybody had been using prior to, and is giving that little extra boost, going back with the actual suppression, the actual recoil control, velocity, and the damage range, whereas they took away virtually all of that and just kind of swapped them out and sent them to attachments and made those suppressors worthless. But today's hotfix to revert those, pretty much given at least the comfort level back to a lot of these players to just go to what they already know.
Yeah, you don't see that very often from a developer to kind of revert back a change that they felt maybe was the right choice for the meta, for the game state. But, you know, always fun to see, or always good to see that the developer has their ears out on for the community and is listening and tapped in and prepared to do whatever is necessary to make the community happy. At the end of the day, these are your players. These are your guys who play your game and test your game day in and day out. You know, if they feel like this is right for the state of the game, then, you know, obviously sometimes you should take it with a grain of salt. But of course, there are plenty of players in the community that have the best intentions of the game in mind.
So with second zone going pretty west for the time being, airport storage, boneyard, the major POIs that are going to be in this one. Kind of similar to what we saw in the second game of last week. A lot of open ground, or the only cover out there, at least on the western border, is going to be a lot of trees, a few hillsides, and see who's going to be able to get there early. And you hear that marksman rifle is going to be very important coming down to there because of the fact that when you do get out there, not a lot of cover. Hit your sniper shots. I mean, these guys are good enough. They got the confidence to do it. Just hit your shots. Forehead.
Always just hit your shots, forehead. And, you know, of course, this is what I believe too. I love to sit up on a hill like this, a ridge, and just take people's lives away from such a long range. They're like, what? Wait. And then the kill cam, they're like, oh, okay. Well, that was unfortunate. Unlucky.
It feels good. There is a certain amount of satisfaction to it, but there is never going to be anything that tops the satisfaction from a battlefield shotgun with a 12-time scope hitting a 400-meter snipe headshot. Because it just shouldn't happen, but sometimes physics are just a little weird. I mean, the Modern Warfare did a little bit of it when the 7.25 and you got that long-range scope on there. You could get the sniper shotties, but it wasn't quite the same.
Yeah, I always love to see shenanigans, obviously, in Call of Duty, but of course, too, for the competitive states of games, you always want to stray away from things that are just too... I would say just too far unrealistic. I don't know how to describe it any better than that. It just feels like, you know, like a shotgun shouldn't do this. So you just don't, you know, like don't. Yeah, you know, like just don't. It just it's like cognitive dissonance, you know, like it just messes with our brains.
This is an interesting fight that these players now have to deal with. They kind of let this other team get up to the hilltop and now fighting on equal ground. Plus, all of them have to rotate anyways, so I think this is just a fight that you probably don't want to take, just to at least cover to make sure that you don't get pushed on, but it sounds like they're already up in your grill.
Yeah, one already downed, and doesn't look like there's anybody else that was there near him, so the enemy squad might be separated, but of course, his team looking just fine. They're taking back the stronghold of this ridge line. Obviously, still plenty of trees around, so plenty of cover to worry about. Plenty of players could be lurking nearby, so they have to be wary. Like you mentioned before, they already were susceptible of giving up the ridge line before. They could do it again if they're not careful. So have to keep their eyes peeled.
Yeah, especially with zone moving here in the next 15 ticks. Gonna have to keep an eye out. I like this play. Already get down to the train station. Potentially, take the ladder, take the zip up to the top to see what you can do to provide overwatch. That's exactly what's going to happen. And then from here, just try to watch those players make their move. I mean, you see his teammate coming in behind. They just bought their third teammate back on the hilltop buy station. So this is just a matter of, get something for your teammate to survive for the short term until you can find something long term. The next zone, get the preview going up towards the airport, which is going to be really weird. This one you can tolerate and deal with, but if that zone continues to pull northwest up into those mountains, that is not an easy zone to deal with.
Yeah, a lot of elevation, right, to deal with over there. A lot of create just so much cover, so much, like you said, woodlands, if you will, to deal with. So if you don't have position immediately when the time calls for it in those kinds of circles, then you might find trouble. But now finding trouble himself here, gets downed. Now switching over to the perspective of his two remaining teammates. Yeah, tries to take a shot there.
Still side by side.
Yeah, I do too. I like being able to see, what the two players are kind of thinking, because or even communicating with each other, because you can usually tell by their movements and the way they're going to play a fight what they're thinking. So being able to see both perspectives at the same time kind of gives us a tap into two brains at once, which is nice.
The thing I like more about this squad on the left side, looking at what they've done, is the fact that they just picked up that recon contract, so they already know where the next zone after this one to airport is going to go. So they can look at their map and have the idea of what they need to do and just how much of a pain is it going to be when they move to the northwest portion of this. So they can get an idea if they need to move into the mountains, if they need to kind of hole up around and closer to airport, if we're going to see some of the tunnel play come in once you do get up there. I'm very curious as to what the move is going to be. And also in the sense that this is a team of two people, duo into trios. Of course, this whole custom lobby is going to be a trios competition, but the fact that you are already putting yourself a man down, whether that just be because you have confidence in your own play or it just be in the sense that your third just couldn't quite make it today. I like the fact that you're getting as much information as you possibly can, as early as you can, to put yourself in a better situation long term.
Well, approaching a top 20 situation now, and players continuing to dwindle down. The sneaky play here by this two-man squad, seemingly obviously the right play, because these guys are already a man down. These guys have to play still with confidence, of course. They don't want to play non-confidently. Yeah, I saw that. It's pretty nice. Early. Yeah. Oh no, they find the contact, immediately get the first one down, but now pushing in through. This maybe sees one more in the right corner here, pushes on up. Plenty of loot here on this staircase, so of course gonna take a moment and shop around. Now pulling out the heartbeat though, doesn't get any markers, so relatively safe. Of course, you could have a cold-blooded
on the rail. There you go. It's one of the best parts about this, just going up to the top. You can stand up on top of this rail. You can look out that window to the left and see if there's anyone going to be there. But neither one of them getting any hits on the heartbeat is just going to be enough to tell them that they're probably, safe enough to be in this. And just like this, looking out that window to see. Right side looks like someone in Storage Town, going to be looting up a little bit more. See what they can find as they get their way over closer to the zone, as it's going to start to close in now. They'll have some ground to cover. Not too far to the northwest of this.
Let's go. Get one hit marker. Oh, but he's got a second man to worry about. Immediately recognizes the danger of the 1v2. And rotates back to this car. Or this vehicle, I should say. Reloads. Takes a second to reload. And sees someone to his back this time, though. Gets the armor break. Needs the second shot to land. Unfortunately, doesn't get it. And now in danger. Gonna seek a small reprieve, but hold up here is not the best way to go. You are but stuck. But maybe he can do some damage. It looks like the enemy squad has already taken up a fight with someone else. Well,
third-party assist coming in here, but this is going to be dangerous now in the sense of, well, With your shots going off, granted they are suppressed, but you know someone close enough is going to be able to hear those. And I like just the smart play of putting the trophy system down and in the expectancy that someone is going to be pushing up on you. But with the third party coming in, you see the gas coming in as well. This is going to be something that you're going to have to be cognizant of. You know, crank up that volume, listen to where those footsteps are coming from, and just fingers crossed you're able to make your way in.
Yeah, at this rate, this is a one-man mission. Obviously a tall mountain to climb, as we now get a perspective of one of our other squads seemingly in a fight. Maybe just some long-range combat, but rotating around the map, and it's going to be a little bit easier for our men on the left here, but now on the right side, oh, yup, just unfortunately not going to be able to stay in the circle long enough. And of course you've got guys camping the circle edges, and on the other side it looks like our guys got into another fight instantly up on this ridge line. I can't exactly tell where oh, this is in that northwest corner like you mentioned. Wait, no, it's not.
Oh yeah, I mean western border.
Yeah, you're right. And yeah, just like that, having that high ground early, that enemy squad is able to take advantage and immediately dispatch them.
Small caliber rounds here.
Yeah, and you know, looking at the team that was in Storage Town, as soon as you hit that the first cough of gas, anyone that is within 150 meters of you is immediately going to 180 to look to see where that coughing is coming from. The team on top of the hillside here, I mean, this is prime real estate right now, where they have control of this. With this AMAX, you know, you're going to have the scope to be able to get a lot of shots on, pretty good damage over range from the AMAX plus the SMGs if anyone is feeling a little cheeky to start to move up. But, you know, barring what the teammate has, I'm not sure if there's a sniper or marksman or something on this one, but at least already up here, you have the height on the hillside, plus in the same principle of keeping your back to where the gas is coming in. Keeping your back to out of bounds is just one less angle you have to worry about. If you get an angle on trees to mount up, watch your teams come in, take some free shots. Sounds like his teammate does have a sniper.
Yep.
Has already one ping.
Has the live pings on one, but does take a bit of damage and loses all of his plates. So immediately has to plate back up, reload his weapon, and look to peek again. Now, though, it looks like there might be someone coming in from the gulag here. So we might see a freelo kill. Can he knock a bird out of air? Doesn't look like he can, Caribou. And that guy will just get away safely.
That man playing the eyes in the sky over the top just to get some recon on who is up here on the hillside already. Zone closing in now. We're going to see where the next one will pull. Makes things even more interesting if we are going to go further up the hill or if we're going to go down into this one. And this team, they are perfectly fine. This hilltop is going to still remain in it.
That's crazy.
The problem that they're going to have to deal with now is anyone that does push up, you know, there is at least a little bit of the goalie that is back and to the left where he's looking. And it's just a point of the angle that as this team is rotating into, this goalie right here is going to be the problem to deal with.
Oh, no. And yeah, he gets knocked. And unfortunately, it looked like he had the first shot ready. It just, he didn't commit or just didn't have the shots lined up. And his opponent just beamed him, laser beamed him. But I think his teammate there finished the enemy squad off, got the res off, and they both live to fight another day. So they only have to worry about the enemy squad in the distance here, or at least right now. And now, as we see on the left side, tries to take a shot. Now going to throw the nade, switching back. Ooh, calls in the strike here, and
yeah,
will he get some hit markers from it? It's a very good call.
He had the down, so I mean that's just an attempt to get your full out of this one. But
oh,
look, 180. Hello.
Yes, somehow sneakily gets right by him and doesn't hear him at all. Now, as we switch perspectives, the zone just shrinking further and further. The gas now encroaching. Ooh, taking a lot of damage. Does get all of his armor broken. Yeah, nicely done. That M16 coming in strong there. Gets the 3-round burst. Like you said, that insta armor break practically. And, you know, these guys, there's 2v I can't tell if it's 2v3.
2v1 right now.
2v1. Oh, wow. It's 2v1. Oh, then it's looking like this is going to be a Warzone victory. Yup. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy for these guys. And, you know, I got to say, Caribou, I think that those two guys who only later became two, but were once three, held down that ridge line very, very well. Those guys were making it look so easy, and it's exactly like what we thought was going to happen. That the moment you saw the zone start to shrink, and you knew that it was going to be in that northwestern corner of the map, you already probably had to expect there were going to be some squads immediately rushing for those high grounds, immediately rushing for those woody areas, and looking for those strongholds on those ridge lines. And this squad got the right straw, so to speak, and picked the right ridge and won the game.
Yeah, very convenient to get that zone to continuously pull to you and just stay up on top of that hilltop. And like I said, you know, at the point, the only worry you have is at least that little bit of a goalie that was below and behind them, because that it's just kind of like a back left type thing where you just really aren't looking in that direction, and someone could be able to sneak up in there. The only person that did sneak anywhere near them managed to get somehow in between them and split the gap, and then at that point, just a 180 crossfire, we're able to pick up the kill. So that's at least a +2, +25 for the Warzone victory. Very well played, though. Got to give a lot of credit to the sense that they were able to lock down that hilltop, be able to control that from the, and then at the end, just a 2v1v1, hit your shots, just control this elevation. And it's only a matter of time, because the other players, the solos, already know probably where you're at. Of course, you're going to be on the high ground. That's where you would expect them to be. So they're going to try to challenge you. And it's like they haven't learned anything from classic filmography. You don't challenge the high ground. It just doesn't work. Unless you have an airstrike or a precision or a cluster strike. A precision or a cluster strike. Just one of those, sure, try it. But you don't. So, no.
Yeah, otherwise, as a wise man once said, don't try it, Anakin.
Exactly.
But that does conclude our second match there. We will have to send it to a short break, but do not fear, more Warzone action for you coming back after this break. Don't go anywhere. To the wrong house, you might think.
In 2020, we interrupted your regularly scheduled programming to bring you $250,000 worth of scholarships through Intel Inspires. Now, in 2021, we are the regularly scheduled programming. We are proud to announce the new AVGL high school program, backed by a myriad of colleges, influencers, and esports professionals. Up to $400,000 worth of scholarships, paid esports internships, content creator camps, and 50+ exclusive tournaments and events. We know the ropes, and after the experience granted to us through Intel Inspires, we're no longer tying knots, we're tying bows. Because esports isn't about skill. It's not about age. It's not even about experience. It's about attitude. And we at the AVGL are dedicated to bringing that attitude from the vault of the esports corporations and into your classroom. If there's one thing we've learned from a year at the forefront of collegiate esports, it's that professional gaming doesn't start with us. It starts with you.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back here to the AVGL Collegiate Champions League for Warzone. This is the third qualifier, the third game on the third day of the third month.
Oh,
here,
wow.
JJ, coming at you. It's a lot of threes, man. And a trios tournament, nonetheless. And here we are,
wow.
getting ready for this one. It's a lot of threes. I don't know if you got any affiliations with the threes.
I don't know if you just discovered that on your own right now, or if you had that ready before the break. I mean, we were definitely talking about something completely different during the break, so that was kind of pog what you just pulled out there. But nonetheless, to answer your question, no, 4 is my favorite number, so just one off. But.
All right.
But, you know, it's okay. It's all right. I am excited, though, because, yes, indeed, we are in our third week of this amazing 5-week qualifier tournament, and it's all in part and thanks to our sponsor for the tournament today, of course, esportcertified.com. These guys are the new gaming gear destination exclusively for university and college students, and they're going to be hooking you guys up because they specialize in a wide assortment of all your peripheral needs, your headsets, your mice, your mouse pads, everything you need, they've got it. And all of your most premier gear brands, you've got your HyperX, your Razer, your Rig, your Steel Series, and more, all at an epic savings. So what are you waiting for? Head on down to esportcertified.com to check them out.
A phenomenal showing to be able to have support like that. Of course, building up through these qualifier weeks, going into the grand finals, $3,000 to be on the line at the end of the road as we get in, and we are ever so close to dropping into our third game. We'll figure out where we're going to start out this time around, how nice the lobby's going to be to us, how good the zone's going to be to us. And as we start our spectating, we go in with the face in the window. Just smash your forehead into the window, and that's all it takes.
That was one of my favorite things to do when I first played Warzone for the first time. It was just like, oh, I guess just auto break, and like, just all so nice because everything's so and it was more actually specifically how the doors also interacted when you first played Warzone, right? Because you're just like, oh, these things just like bust open for you. You don't have to do anything. It really just promotes that W key play style.
Yeah, it is nice to just be able to brainlessly think about it, and just not think about it, right?
Yeah.
And just slam your forehead into the door, and you kick the door down, and it's totally fine. You don't have to do anything extra. You don't have to press F to interact or anything like that just to go through a doorway, unless you really want to and you're trying to be quiet about it. But I think it's a good mechanic, just in a generic sense. But not surprised already here as we start out where we were last time around. This was the squad we spectated that had the two-piece. The third one, of course, didn't quite connect into this, so we saw them picking up that recon around the train station, make their way down the hill, and then try to get over to Storage Town before they get taken down. But now, at full force, loadout in hand, let's see what they can do.
Yeah, loadouts in hand is big pogs, and they're gonna be, of course, feeling pretty strong. They've got that MAC-10 just rips through people. Love to see it. And they're just gonna make a quick exchange of funds and buy up a few things. And how do you feel about this zone though, Caribou, as we take a look at the map and how it's just gonna presumably start to really tunnel in on that north side?
As long as we don't go towards Quarry, I'm fine with it. I think, staying up here on the north part is okay. It's not as bad as, it pulling over to lumber or farmland down towards prison, but there's still a lot of height that you have to work with, and especially in the late game, if you start to close around the dam, there's only a very select few ways to actually get up on top of that, and to get up on that hillside. And everybody knows Warzone mantling is one of the most challenging parts of this game. To be able to get those crouch jumps and the sprint jumps, and it's certainly no Counter-Strike by any means, but it's not easy to maneuver rocks, even as a super soldier.
No, I agree with you. Very well said. I think that as much as people like to criticize Warzone for being, just another BR, just another W key game, lol, no skill, there is definitely some skillful mechanics to this game, and like you just mentioned, it's not very easy to do, and that is what separates a pretty good Warzone player from a great Warzone player, and the ones that consistently can find those dubs. So I agree with you. I really am excited to see exactly how much of a differential we'll see in the mechanics of these players later on down the stretch as they get into these end game scenarios, because that's usually when your mechanics and your decision making shine, right? When you're forced into those situations where you don't have a lot of time to think and you've got to make those quick decisions. But look at this already. We've got one in the gulag. We've got multiple in the gulag.
Unfortunate about the F4 coming in here. I mean, it just hit a beautiful car shot out of the helicopter to get it down, but unfortunately, resignation.
Whew. Beautiful prone shot there. We love to see it. Yeah, okay. Brings me back to the days of old on playing Call of Duty on console, man. Oh man, remember those Xbox Live days? I certainly do. They feel like yesterday. Now I'm getting closer to boomer status. I mean, it's just
I know.
it's my heart.
I mean, you talked about the M16 of old, prior to, we talked about the FFAR now and the similarities that it has to the FAMAS from Black Ops 1.
Oh yeah.
Even branching back to Car 98, there were days not long ago, and I'm gonna date myself here, when I was in college and I should have been in class, playing Call of Duty 2 in rifle-only lobbies with the Car 90. And let me tell you, some of the sweatiest players I've ever played against, because they know
In your
every
whole life,
head
too.
glitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is, in 2014, a decade after Call of Duty 2 has come out, and these lobbies are still full of these rifle-only snipers, and I just think that I got to give all my credit to any role that I pretend like I have has to go back to that.
Surely, you were
old.
training with the best of them. No. If you're old, I'm old, but
Yeah.
it's okay. We're here for it. We're just the next generation. It's funny though that I stream, sometimes, and I get some Zoomers in my chat, and they love to call me a boomer, and I'm just like, guys, I'm not even that old. But they're like,
No.
yeah, but like you're a generation before us, so you're basically a boomer to us. I'm like, what? How does that logic make any sense? But
yeah.
okay. And I think it's just that, if you think about who we view as boomers, right? You're older schooler gamers, right? Like you're really day oneers. It's it's just all generation next, or the generation before. Oh, now stumbling upon two people just lying in wait, hanging out, trying to get a little bit of support from his teammate in the building, but he is quickly disposed of. So now I think it's all but over for that whole squad, right? Yeah, that was the full squad wipe.
Yeah, imagine a couple of them gonna be taking a trip down to the gulag, but starting out here with this team that looks like what the angle they're gonna take is they're gonna take over this little spot in the military base, and plus a helicopter on top. They virtually the same thing, and this is kind of what we expect to see, especially in this type of game state where relatively smaller population for this. You just try to get out and around as fast as you possibly can, with your loadout as quick as you possibly can, and the helicopter is just the best way to do that. And that's why you see a lot of these teams, when they do start out, they pool the money together very quickly, get their first loadie, put any of the rest of the funds they have to get their UAV, hop in the chopper, and then just start to circumnavigate Verdansk, because they try to find any kills that they possibly can to stack up their points. And the point you brought up earlier of denying points from the rest of the teams, more so is guaranteeing that you get those, because you're not guaranteed the placement points at the end, and there is a rather steep fall off if you aren't up there at the top 3, top 5 squads. You have to make sure that you can get anything anywhere you can.
Well, now approaching the top of this mountain, really just scouting out the entire area, the entire west side of this map, it looks like, and rightfully so. Playing that recon is very important in Warzone, and or this northeastern side of the map. Why did I say western? I couldn't tell, obviously. But nonetheless, it's they were flying west. Right, exactly. I'm no Lewis and Clark, okay? But nonetheless, finding refuge here on this ridge, and this is going to be a good spot. And if the zone starts to favor them and the gas pushes towards them, they're going to be looking very, very good for this late game scenario.
Yeah, and the other benefit out of this one is, okay, now you have a teammate that you just, you sit, stay, and just watch and see what happens. I don't know. And the rest of this, this helicopter play is just trying to draw attention from anybody. And that's why you see Will hopping from seat to seat, just making sure he doesn't get picked off from a sniper, because a shot at that is going to absolutely drop, and you are not going to survive that fall. Tim the Tap Man can attest. Any height, yeah. He knows exactly how many pixels it takes to fall and be susceptible to fall damage. But now you have this rehab, and just try to get anybody that can, shoot at you, just to give away their location, because this is just, giving the confidence that, hey, this team's good enough that if they do have someone that is taking shots at their helicopter, okay, now we know where you're at, and we're going to come to you, and we're going to kill you before you kill us. And they've got line of sight at least on another chopper, another squad, so it seems like that's what the play is going to be.
Yeah, the W key has been activated, it seems, and kind of just going to pass the entire area altogether to make sure, I would assume also they have eyes on the entire side of that map, just because they don't want to either be victims of a third party, right? You get too tunneled in on one squad and on one fight, and then before you know it, you've got squads coming from your left, you got squads coming from your right, and things are getting hairy. So I like what they're doing here. They're playing very patient, very methodical, and it shows that these guys are Warzone players. They're Warzone veterans, right? These guys know what they're doing. They know how they should be playing this map, and that's why they're here. That's why they're playing this tournament, because this is what they do.
This lobby's been fluctuating between 25 and 30 players. Went back up to 29, now back down to 27. See what their move's going to be. I mean, already 3 kills here for Insight. See what else they can as a couple more players drop down. Still 10 squads left alive, though. But the fact that there's just, outside of the squad at the chopper that they briefly approached, they just, anyone else, just no signs of life out here. Would tell me that a lot of people that are probably dropping in their safe locations going towards the stores and down central where the quote-unquote hot drops usually are. They just haven't made it to this part of the world yet. I mean, second zone coming in the next 60 seconds before it finally closes up, and we'll find out where number 3 is going to go, and then you'll start to see at least a little bit more action coming through. But outside of this team is just, they're playing the long con. I mean, they're just playing it safe to, I guess, get placement. I mean, they've already got a handful of points for the kills, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They don't have to do anything.
Yeah, and I think that perhaps what might be on their minds now, we're seeing the live pain come in. We see this SUV being piloted. So now might actually be the call to action. The trap might be sprung. These guys might start to collapse. Obviously, we see the enemy squad exit the vehicle, but already we see the team dropping out of the chopper, and away they go.
What they can get. This might be a tricky one as well, though. Went into these dark hangars. Play the corners, check the corners.
Naturally so. One already down. Wow. Now turning the corner has to be weary. He does get the one down. Teammate gonna obviously get the final on that one, but now quickly plating up. Teammate in the gulag.
Guess you have M4 to work with.
Oh,
missed the shots.
Yeah, unfortunately,
wide right.
Looked like just a little wide right and just not enough pull down. Shout out to FSU if you know the reference, but I'm a big Miami Hurricanes fan too, by the way. That's why I know all the wide rights and wide lefts. But anyways, but the next squad, back over to our original squad. As you can see, Gulag was lost, so now he's gonna need the redeploy. They don't have enough funds at this moment, but obviously that could change. The zone is still rather large. There's still plenty of time. Obviously, a contract's already been pinged, so I would imagine they're gonna work towards bringing him back as quickly as possible. So not all too bad for this team here, but of course, numbers continuing to dwindle down. Only 8 other squads remaining, so getting already close to that late game situation.
And yeah, now another situation of, as you mentioned, picking up that contract. Now they're going to be able to have enough money to get the teammate back just from the money that was sitting in there. Plus, on top of that, you just tell your other teammate, all right, sit, stay. The recon contract going to be done. It's going to be more money in the pocket. When he does come back, you're A, going to be able to buy some armor plates, and B, see that yellow circle, it's going to tell them where the next zone is already going to go. So they are a whole zone ahead of everybody else. And I said that I was okay with the way this zone was going, as long as it didn't go to Quarry.
Yep.
And I guess we're going to go to Quarry because, well, I said it.
Because RNGesus never favors us. I mean, or the caster curse is strong. Pick one. Like, it just is just how it goes. And some people you love to see it, others you hate to see it. But what you hate to see is some shots headed their way. Live pings now coming out from the sky. They see the other chopper. I mean, but as you can see from the perspective of the enemy squad, yeah, he's just got eyes all over that chopper. Not taking any shots, though. Finally starts to put some rounds down range. Yeah. Oh, I just don't know why he hesitated for so long.
Yeah, I would have loved to see just more proactiveness on that. I mean, just the fact that your teammates are now down on the ground level, which would tell me, okay, this is the concern now that you're going to get pushed. Is you see what they're going to do, going to try to land this one up top, but just call that airstrike right on top of you if you can. But they're going to call it in. They're going to get an airstrike at least. Could be from the other side to destroy their helicopter. But same principle, so the skies would have been full.
Oh my goodness. Sorry to interrupt you, Caribou, but this guy, he's got such a good angle on these two players. Gets the chopper bust, and now gets both of the downs. Beautiful play. Very well done to get the 2 frags. And my goodness, now though has to be worried about one more. It looks like, oh my goodness, gets annihilated by somebody he couldn't even see. Just gets laser beamed, it seemed. I can't really tell, though. His team is here for the pickup. Will they be able to do it safely, though? Oh, we spotted them.
See one on there, but you just gotta hit your shots, man.
Goodness, the sharp shooting Caribou. It's like you're out there and he's hunting, playing hunting season, man. Come on, this guy is just so good. Can they find a shot on him? They get the reses though, so I would imagine that the enemy player abandoned that angle and kept it pushing. But what amazing shots by that player. I wish I would have known who it was.
This is just now the worst case scenario of a turnaround here. I mean, granted, you just got that helicopter elimination, and that's what I was talking about earlier. You know, the teammate that you had on the hillside, I just wish would have been a little bit earlier to take those because they're already pretty badly damaged. Only one clip of AR would have been able to get that heli disabled, to get the team out of it and relieve some pressure on your 2 teammates in the hangar. And now you might not even be in this situation where you had a couple players go down. That's half a dozen armor plates done and dusted that you've now wasted, and just put yourself in a position where you were almost sandwiched in a really bad place where you're getting shot at from 2 different angles. Thankfully, they're able to get out, but now let's see what they can do with this newfound fortune as they make their way up on top of this hillside towards the...
Newfound fortune indeed, and it's amazing how Warzone is the type of BR, unlike many others, that enable you to never be to be down but never be out, really, you know, because of how much potential you have to bring back teammates, to, you know, win yourself back with the gulag, which no other BR has. And so I love being able to see how much the BR genre has kind of developed and evolved over time, because coming back from, you know, the OG PUBG days, what a time to be alive it was for those days, where you would just be riding a motorcycle casually, maybe a little too fast down a hill, and well, good luck, my friend. Time to go next, because you just hit the wrong rock that you weren't ready for and you died.
In a heartbeat, like, what?
Yeah.
Huh? All right, well, I guess.
The smallest of rocks too would do you in. You're just like, wow. Okay.
And if it's not just you flame on contact, you're just all of a sudden in orbit and like, well, I know where this is going.
Exactly. Yeah. Like Team Rocket blasting off again.
How far we've come. Yeah.
Right.
I think Warzone's done a great job with it too. I mean, just in everything that they have offered, and not even in just Warzone, but in BRs in general, just each step that each different unique BR has offered to get to this point to where we are now.
Yeah.
And the things that Warzone keep adding onto this. And granted, you know, with this most recent update, sure, there are some people that think, okay, this is a brand new season, and it didn't even do that much. I mean, we talk about the meta changes. You introduced an SMG, a new AR, and that's about it. There's really not a lot more that's coming in outside of the ship and closing off a few locations, but really not a lot more has changed. Ground loot's pretty much the same. The locations are all pretty much the same. There's nothing too crazy yet, and that's the only complaint these players have mostly had, because we're just not at the point yet.
Don't mean to interrupt you, Caribou, but man, this is gonna be very hairy very quickly. Gets the armor break though, but has to be careful there. I saw a glint. He knows that there's so much cover in this nearby area, and it's hard to keep track of everyone. So many trees. Plenty of live pings coming out though, so this is what you love to see. Very helpful in situations like this. Ooh, gets the armor break and the down. Very well done. That AUG coming in clutch now, but will he push up? Or will he look to use some utility? Ooh, finds the second player and immediately goes to work. Gets a little bit of hit marker action, but not quite an armor break. And now the decision to push forward.
And I love this positioning that you have. You have one that's hugging the edge of the gas, trying to pick up what they can, get the resources they can. You know, obviously the teammate of the player that just got killed off just tried to come up and get anything, but the suppressing fire from this squad was enough to at least convince him to go the other way. Now we'll figure out what the move is going to be. It's starting to pull back towards this direction. They're at least running towards now. See how far it actually goes and what the elevation change is going to be, because that's the worst part about the quarry finishes, is that you have these people that finish on these hilltops, and there's just not a lot of pathways to get up to where these players are on this elevation. So it's just not going to be easy to deal with if they get into that point now. But at least going down to some flatter ground and realizing there's players down there, they're going to try to pick off.
Rightfully so. And to your point that you mentioned earlier about the changes with this season and what was introduced and how really narrow those changes were, something that I think should be mentioned too is where the state of the game was prior even to season 2. Everyone kind of agreed that the state of the weapons were rather balanced, but we're just gonna have to hold on to that thought because mayhem has just ensued here as they approach the edge of this ridge. You've got a squad in the house to your right, you've got another squad in the house in front of you, you've got another squad what looks to be behind the barricades north of you.
Window.
Yep, one in the window. I mean, you've got people littered everywhere, Caribou.
Yeah, this is a problem. You now put yourself in this position, and we saw kind of a similar thing when they were in around the hangars in that open space where they kind of put themselves in a problematic area, and you can expect someone to be in those houses in that warehouse that was right below that ridge because it is relatively safe. You know, they're not going to be safe in this household. Plus, they've announced to the whole world where they're at, and you can kind of expect, you know, everyone else around them to know the direction that they're going to be rotating. But this is a smart play to make this rotation through and to make sure that every angle on the outside is also scot-free of any enemies, because you just don't want to get accidentally tagged in the back. Clear all these rocks, clear the bushes, clear the trees, the tents, and make sure you're the only people here to try to find an angle, because it's going to be a fight for the high ground once again.
Isn't it always, Caribou?
Usually, yeah. Yeah.
But of course, this zone beginning to narrow some more. Log officially closed, and this gas will begin to move shortly. Now, of course, as you mentioned already, the back to the gas is that favorable strat. I mean, it's what you should be doing. It's textbook, and it's good to see what that these guys are taking advantage of, that the fact that they're on that kind of slower side of the gas or of the zone, and they've got what looks to be a pretty good position here to the backs of the squads they had saw originally. So what looked like a bleak position for them originally now has turned into a little bit of a favorable one. Now gets the hit markers there, and we see the push. W keying forward, does get the armor plates on the way. Now gonna look to peek the corner, but yes, dangerous indeed. Airstrikes heard overhead. Have to be careful. Now with the pings out, they're not sure exactly where they are, but they know they're in this general direction. The vehicle is there. We do get the 1 live ping.
I like this. This is the best angle you can set up, because realistically, this is the most cover to let anyone come up to where you're at on top of this hill is from this wall on the right side. And the fact that you now have someone on the left looking through that gap in the hole, and you have your player here on the rock, insight watching this rock. Airstrikes coming in. There's a lot of resources being used to no avail from any of these other teams. Shots going down. And exactly that. You're just going to flush them out, and that's it.
That it will be all she wrote, ladies and gentlemen. The Warzone victory, quite swift. And in a moment's notice, we thought too that squad had seemingly the worst position possible. Like you had mentioned, they had announced to the whole wide world where they were rotating to. Everyone else in the area, the nearby area, had their own strongholds. They had presumably information of those around them as well. So, you know, I expected them to be in a very, very dangerous spot, but they made the right call to keep moving. As Dory once said, right? Just keep swimming. These guys just kept somehow swimming through the sea of enemies and the sea of bullets to get to the backs of the enemy, get to the high ground, and use that favorable position to win the game. Just spectacular play and well done.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's just a minor subtleties as well, you know, in their rotations across. You know, they're using the cover. You know, even when you think of, oh, we're getting shot at, we just lost a teammate, you know, from the players in the buildings below us. On their rotation through, they go into a building, okay, you don't even know if it's clear or not, but they clear out the entire building to make sure. And then when they're making the rotation in, they actually walk towards the gas to make sure no one's going to be hiding in the bushes or the rocks. And as soon as they clear that little rock ledge before they made their way over to the wall, they actually turn back to face the gas again to make sure that there's going to be nobody hugging them as they're trying to do the exact same thing, moving over towards that stone fence. So just very small things that these experienced players know to do. And it's very small, but very smart, because it makes a world of difference when it comes down to those late game situations, and it pays off for them as they set up then in cover. You got two angles where you're covering the same place, or where someone could, the only angle they can't approach you, you got it all covered. It's only a matter of time before they get flushed out and you get the win.
Yeah, and not only was their positioning so great, but of course, weapon selection, right? You saw that AUG go to work time and time again today. Multiple people wielding this weapon, and we saw also the M16. I got to give you some credit where credit's due. You had made that call as well. We saw a little bit of Car 98 action to boot, but all across the board, I think the AUG has got to get the sort of MVP for the day, because we saw a lot of great stuff from the AUG from long range too. And these guys obviously knowing exactly how much they need to pull down, handling that recoil well. Of course, those attachments aiding in that, fully decked out. These guys are just ripping through their opponents. They were getting downs in mere seconds, or milliseconds rather. So it's very exciting to see exactly those kind of weapon meta changes that we were talking about, and like shifts, not dramatic shifts, because something I wanted to mention briefly was the fact that prior to the season 2 starting, the weapon balance was actually something quite nice to see. It was across the board so balanced, and it was really just an attachment game, but you could really make whatever weapon you wanted work with the right attachment. So I like that Activision as the developer is continuing this trend towards trying to keep the overall state of the game in terms of the weapons very balanced and very healthy, and leaving your options as a player open to really whatever floats your boat.
It comes down to just the way that it goes. All these players and the content creators they're watching, whether it be, you know, someone that's streaming, you know, the pro players that are streaming in the tournaments, and the Toronto Ultra just putting on their $100,000 Warzone tournament as well. I mean, watching these, understanding what loadouts that you want to go with, it's those content creators that are paving the way, because they play this game for 18 hours a day. They know what these best loadouts are. The AUG, the most recent one to come through, TikTok got a hold of it, YouTube got a hold of it, Twitch got a hold of it. Everybody now, they see this is the one that is going to be the one that works the best. And even more surprising in the sense that with this LC10 coming out, it seems like it's got a really high rate of fire. And my question of that would be just in general to anybody playing in this competition is that, is it so much you don't see the LC10 coming in because they haven't unlocked the attachments, or the fact that, okay, they've had the time with it, but they're still more comfortable with those MAC-10s, with the MP5s, with the 74Us, you know, whatever that is. But to the same degree, talking about, it's about an even balance of weapons. I mean, they're all virtually the same. It's just up to personal preference, whatever flavor of the month is, and these players are making it work.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Well, let's go ahead and take a moment to look at the leaderboard and how we got here after week 3. Now, keep in mind, all of the points roll over from week to week. So right now, these are just the culmination of all of the points that these players have accrued for their respective teams. And as we can see, the top 3 spots being firmly held by very familiar faces. Northwood at the number 1 spot yet again, still here and coming into week 3, or at the end of week 3 rather. Illinois there at the number 2 spot, and West Virginia there at number 3. What do you think of the top 3 here, Caribou?
From what we saw last week with Northwood coming through and then how we started at the beginning of this one, I'm not surprised at all as to see them continue to hold that slot. We saw a lot of consistency out of those other two teams as well. West Virginia having Phantom on that squad, who we saw last week, almost coming away with that finish there in getting a second place out of it. But, these leaderboards consistently updating, as you said, week to week, scores carrying over, all the information on avgl.org if you want to go check out where everybody is actually sitting at. But this is out of the top three, and seeing the names on the rosters, I'm not surprised whatsoever to see them continue to have that success.
No doubt. And for those of us wondering, who's on this Northwood squad, like who's leading this squad to this #1 spot? Well, that's your boy Thugger, the guy you saw earlier win that Warzone match. Yeah, that guy, consistently with his team dropping frags. He's also the guy we interviewed last week, if you were able to catch the broadcast from last week. So this guy is doing all the right things and coming in week to week with his team and showing out. And in our interview last week with him, he was very confident. He was very excited, felt very good about where his team was. He felt very good about the new season and about his ability to adapt with his team to the changes, and already proving to be so.
Yeah, and just continuing these teams to adapt into the future of Warzone, and how this season will progress, because we mentioned just a little bit of changes that have happened between last week to this week. Not a lot, couple new weapons really coming in, but this is just the beginning of season 2, and it's pretty much mutually agreed upon that yes, there have been some changes, but the big event hasn't happened yet. As you mentioned, those little Easter eggs around the map, you have that little 5% loading bar. Something else is coming, but it's just not here yet. And when that does come, then I think we're going to see the massive changes too for Donsk, and the locations and the POIs and the drops, and maybe not going to see a lot of weapon changes, because I think that's just, you sprinkle those in on top. But outside of that, the POIs will change in probably a couple of weeks, and that's going to be when things get real interesting.
I would have to agree. I think too that obviously Activision's probably thinking about laying out all of the changes little by little and letting players get used to everything as things kind of trickle out. But I would agree that once the POI start to change and we start to see a real aesthetic change and difference in landscape in Verdansk, it's going to be really exciting to see what that does to the meta, where people decide to start dropping now instead, and really what could end up changing the entire face of the meta, or flipping it on its head. And that's really exciting stuff. And obviously the season's still young, it's still early, but Activision's already announced that this is simply just the beginning of the end. And so I don't really know. Obviously there's a ton of speculation for what that means, and you and I could speculate of course too, but this should be we're in store for a really, really great season, a really good end. So I'm excited either way.
Yeah, I look forward to what they do, because there's incredible creativity behind the scenes. And of course, all of the rumors that go around, we talked about it last week. I mean, there was rumors of the wolves invading from the north, in like season 3, a submarine coming out of the frozen lake at the top behind the dam, destroying the dam, and then the whole map gets flooded. Like, there's been so much speculation and rumors as the seasons have progressed. And, now kind of introducing this zombie undead nightmare into Verdansk. Going to be curious, and I love the way that they are tying it in here with that storyline. But I look forward to the more of the development with the actual meta that these players are going with. Sure, these lobbies are a little more low population, but with the adjustments of POIs and the drops and how the map will get affected. But I am curious to see the answer realistically to my question of, is it the players not using these new weapons just because they don't have the attachments, or do they just go with the flow and they're just a bunch of meta slaves because they saw this thing work really good on this YouTube video, and that's what I'm going to go with because that guy made it work, so it must be good, right?
To be honest with you, Caribou, I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's much easier to just follow what someone's already kind of cracked the code to be, right? And have already figured it out, and it's just a much safer bet. And then of course, in the meantime, you can continue to grind out those attachments and not have to be forced into playing a gun that isn't really fully kitted yet, and thus have to sacrifice, right? So I would imagine that these guys are just taking the much safer route, the much more calculated route that's already been done for them. And rightfully so. I mean, why not? At the end of the day, you know, I know of a really wise Korean player in League of Legends who once said that, you know, you shouldn't worry so much about trying to figure out the meta yourselves. Just copy what everyone that's better than you is doing. So, I mean, if that's the recipe for success, then so be it, you know?
Whatever works, I guess. I mean, just because it works, though, doesn't mean it's that much more exciting. Like, you could be the person that said, I am the one that developed this strategy. I'm the one, the first one that discovered why weapon XYZ was the greatest one to walk Verdansk. I mean, that's the thing that I'm looking for. I want someone to be the innovator. I want creativity and originality and do something exciting. Like, let me see some flaming throwing knives as the finishers in this. Like, give me something cool. That's all I'm asking for. Granted, I could be doing the same thing, but I'm not. I'm casting. And if I was playing, maybe I would be. But if I was also playing, I'd probably be at the bottom of the leaderboard.
You're a meta slave. So, who are you fooling?
Do as I say, not as I do.
Who are you fooling? You're a meta slave. All of us casters are meta slaves. Since we watch the pros so much, we know exactly what the best options are. As the word meta even states, the most effective tactics available. We're meta slaves, okay? Let's just keep it real.
You don't have to expose me, though. Come on. I can keep a facade up.
No, but I agree with you. I think that it is very exciting to see innovation. It's always exciting to see when players pull out something that no one was expecting, that is 5-head, big brain, and people love to latch onto those kind of plays because those are the kind of plays or moments where people do something crazy or innovate in a way that is going to make them kind of solidified in history forever. Like you said, it's those kind of moments that you remember. Nobody remembers the hundreds or thousands of people that copy the one guy who innovated. They all just remember the one guy who made it happen. So I agree with you. I would love to see these kinds of players come up with something like that because we have those level of players in this tournament. These guys are collegiate athletes that are very, very capable, very young though, but still so much potential in these young guys to really climb and be much better than they already are. So plenty of time to learn, to grow, and to be better in their careers. That I'm excited to see of just that happen.
And I think also to that degree of, where we're at in this patch, we talk about just the sense of it's still young in season 2. We haven't got to the point where there's a massive change in Verdansk. I think it's the same point of it's still young in season 2, where you're going to have these types of developments of weapons and attachments, and eventually someone's going to fix and find that next loadout. That's going to be crazy. But we're just not there yet. We're only like barely a week into this one. So there's still some workings going on in the background and we're not there yet, but I do believe that before we get to the finals of the Collegiate Champions League in Warzone, I do believe there's going to be something that comes out into the meta that is just mind-blowingly amazing. And it's going to be the greatest thing and the most infuriating thing since the doof doof. Quote me on it.
I will say too that is usually what happens. There's always those game-breaking moments that happen in games that usually leaves the meta pretty frustrating for a while until the developer posts the hotfix and then we all say goodbye to the highlight plays and the PogChamp moments. But I would love to see it. I mean, obviously we could speculate on what that may be. But I think that in time, people always love to crack games. They always love to break them and figure out exactly how to find the best strat that'll, make their games easy dubs. So I would imagine it is for sure in our future. But I also think that as far as just the Warzone as a whole and Warzone future as a whole, I think that it's exciting to see how much this community has grown and evolved and how many newer players are kind of dropping up around the scene. Obviously we've got plenty of old veteran Warzone players that have killed the scene already, like Huskers and Tommy and these guys, right? But we love to see newer faces, newer guys coming onto the scene and showing what they've got, proving their mettle. And that's kind of what I look forward to seeing a lot as well personally, is just seeing these guys grow up and seeing them being able to, as a caster, see somebody develop in their career and kind of see them follow them through their career and as they get better. It's always exciting to see.
And that's to the point of, watching these players' development. You and I were both there in like the early stages of Warzone competitions to come through, but to watch these players come through and continuously compete, make a name for themselves, see these players get signed to esports orgs and continuously get the invites back into these high-level tournaments where there's 6 figures on the line, and you're playing best of the pros and these top-tier streamers that are always pulling 75,000 viewers, and I can't believe I just died because I got stream sniped all the time. It's always the stream snipers, man. I can't believe it, but they're playing in a bronze lobby or something. Whatever the excuses are, whatever the flavor of the week is for that, but to watch these players develop, and it all starts at competitions like this, where you're watching these collegiate athletes that are getting these opportunities in these esports organizations to get that sort of 15 seconds of fame. They get their time in the spotlight to showcase what they can really do. And then when it comes time for those, 6-figure tournaments, like, hey, I'm pretty good. Did you see what I did here? And then they get an invite, and all of a sudden they're walking away with 65 grand.
Yeah, how much the times have changed, Caribou. I mean, when I think about the fact that some of these guys are 16, 17 years old, 18 years old, and when I think about when I was 16, 17, 18, but 10 years ago, right? These kinds of opportunities, these kind of collegiate level opportunities to play video games at an esport level, like, it just didn't exist for guys like us back in the day. And I'm not trying to be the boomer who complains or anything like that.
I will.
But I'm simply saying that it's really amazing to see how much esports as an industry has grown as a whole, and has at once was just an infant, and it still is in its infancy. That's a little bit of a tongue twister, but it just what a phenomenal amount of just exponential growth we've had in esports.
Yeah, just starting out in the way that we had got here, but as we have gone through all of the hypotheticals of Warzone for qualifier number 3 for the rest of the future of time, we do have the luxury of being joined with the player we were actually talking about last week in Phantom, who almost walked away with a glorious 1v1v2 clutch of the game. So Phantom, welcome in, and how are you feeling after today's competition?
I think it's still fun, forget about everything.
Well, naturally so. Obviously, there's still plenty of Warzone games to be played. Still a couple more weeks leading up until the final. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of it, we first got to ask, what school are you coming from and representing? And of course, how far along are you? Things like that.
I go to West Virginia, so it's basically me and my CCL team playing. They don't play as much Warzone as me, so it's really me just taking on the leadership role in the whole thing and guiding them to do everything. For my teammates that don't really play a lot, they've really been able to adapt, and for us to have top 3, it's really nice. And I think next week, we'll be able to steal the number 2 spot. Taking number 1 off NU and Thugger and all of them is going to be hard, but I think we can do it.
I mean, top 3 already. You can't really complain about that one.
You can't complain about that at all.
Competing in Warzone, especially in competitions like this, what does that mean to you? Like, as a college student, what sort of impact does that bring into your life?
I'm very, 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 very competitive when it comes to things. So whenever I do anything as far as competitive-wise, I put my all into it. I mean, doing this in a collegiate level is really something that I didn't really know about it until I was introduced to it in Call of Duty plus competing, 2 things I've done all my life and absolutely loved. It's something that I really enjoy doing, and so I really wouldn't want to have it any other way, to be honest.
Oh, no doubt. Of course, being a esport collegiate athlete, I'm sure competition is one of the paramount things on your mind, and something that really drives you and keeps you motivated to keep trying to be the best. Based on your performance tonight, though, how do you expect your future rounds to go, and what changes maybe are you thinking about maybe not obviously spoiling any strats you guys might have planned, but of course, you know, are there things in your mind that you're looking to kind of shore up, adapt, you know, things of that nature?
We definitely haven't been playing perfect. There's definitely things we can change and change it for the next coming weeks. We actually didn't have the best game 2 as far as placement goes, but we had the kills to back it up. So I mean, our kills really made up for our placement that game. Game 1 was decent. I think we got 4th place, and I think we got 4th place as well as the 3rd game. It was just that 2nd game that really threw us off, but it was just a little mistake that not too major, something we can fix, and just our ability to just rush teams. I think that's our strongest thing, to be honest. The fact that we can just rush teams and just get easy kills is really our best thing, to be honest. Obviously, there's some things you have to watch out for, but but that ability to do that is really good.
And, you know, looking at the way that these teams are going, you know, getting your loadouts both first and second pretty early on because you just don't have that much pressure coming from the rest of the lobby. You know, what sort of changes did you make from last week into this week? I mean, were you in a position that you were comfortable with after last week's qualifier? Or what sort of adjustments did you have to make to maybe feel a little better about this week's performance?
Definitely. So I think the first 2 weeks we were really hesitant. We were really hesitant to push things. We didn't really want to we wanted to play a slow play placement and just have the kills come to us. But after like the first 2 weeks, it's just like, I mean, it's just, we can do whatever we want on the map, to be honest. We don't have to play proud. Like, we don't have to play scared. We don't have to do any of that. It's just, with my teammates, I really trust the ability of me and my teammates to pretty much win any gunfight that comes to us, to be honest. So I mean, we just play a lot more aggressive than we did the first 2 weeks.
Well, naturally, it makes the most sense. You're already, you know, taking notes from week to week and learning that, hey, you know, smaller population in the lobby, we don't really have to be as patient and slow paced as we maybe have already been. We can look to pick up the pace and get more of those frags. So it's good to see that you guys are making those adjustments, and that's, you know, characteristic of a good team. But of course, one last question for you. How do you feel being an esports athlete in college has affected your life, and maybe what are some long-term aspirations for you in competing in events?
It's actually, it's really, I would really call it a blessing, to be honest. My dad, he's been with me throughout the whole entire journey. He's done nothing but support me. I mean, Call of Duty is something that I've been doing my entire life, ever since MW2. It's just, I've loved playing Call of Duty, love competing, and I actually didn't know about anything like on the collegiate level. Like I said, it just came out of nowhere, and then I did everything I could. West Virginia saw everything they had in me, picked me up, and just competing in the CCL, competing in this, competing in everything. It's really just turned my life for the better. Being able to get an education, being able to compete all at once, it's really the best thing you could really ask for, to be honest.
It's a phenomenal opportunity, and at least you're capitalizing on it, making the most out of it. Here you sit in the top 3 of this Collegiate Champions League. Now, just out of my own personal curiosity, I know JJ said it was the last one, but I'm curious.
As many as you want.
How are you feeling about season 2? I mean, I know some people are a little underwhelmed. You know, what's your sort of reflections on the changes from last week to this?
I think personally, I think in my own eyes, a lot of people want more people to play. I think I agree with that one as well. From week to week, I mean, the player base, people really play the same. A lot of people haven't really changed up. I mean, from what I've seen, the people I ran into, they really haven't changed up what they do as a play style. I can say, like, the top, like, 5 teams, like NU with Duggar, Illy with Kappa, all of them crit, they really play aggressive. So I mean, like, some people, they still tend to hide and do that placement thing, but a lot of teams, or the top teams, do a lot of rushing, do a lot of aggression. It's just things you have to adapt on week to week.
Well said. Phantom, you've been a phenomenal interviewee. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us and share your thoughts. We wish you the best of luck in your future rounds and your future weeks, and we look forward to seeing your gameplay.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes our week 3 of our AVGL Collegiate Champions League for Warzone, and what a great day of Warzone we had. I mean, these guys played their hearts out. We saw a little bit of a shakeup. Thugger brought home another big dub for Northwood, but then of course we've got Phantom from West Virginia still fighting strong and coming in strong today, and interviewing with him and learning that, hey, he's still vying for that top spot. He's still coming for you. So it's really exciting to see the level of competition these guys have, and I'm just excited for the future weeks, Caribou.
Yeah, I love to see what these guys are doing. You know, you talk about the small adaptations from week to week, and realizing you can alter your playstyle a little bit based off of how the rest of the lobby goes, not only just in a single night of competition, but from qualifier to qualifier. Granted that all the points are carrying over. And I love what these teams are doing and how they are changing their play from one to the next. And you asked me how I feel about seeing those top three. I've got personal vendettas against a few of them, but that's just my allegiances to the University of Kansas coming out. So I'm not gonna throw any shade at Illinois or West Virginia or Oklahoma. I'm really happy that they're playing well in Call of Duty, but I'm just waiting for the other KU that's not Kaiser in 5th place. I need Kansas University to show up here. I gotta send some messages tonight. I gotta figure something out.
Well, I have no allegiance here. I'm a UM fan, University of Miami, and unfortunately they're not present today, but that's okay, because then I get to be the unbiased party here between the both of us. Hey, maybe Kansas will pick it up for you, Caribou. Maybe they'll hear your pleas and they'll see what they can do. But that does conclude our broadcast for the day. We've had a blast here from all of us here at the AVGL, as well as myself, JJ, and Caribou alongside me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next week, same time. See you then.
Resignation.
Whew. Beautiful.
Hey.
US boomers, right? You're older schooler gamers, right? Like you're really day oneers. It's it's just all next generation. Oh, now it's not the people just hanging out, trying to get a little bit of support from his teammate in the building.
Hangers. In the corners, check the corners.
Oh, so one already down. Wow. Now turning the corner has to be weary. He does get the one down. Teammate gonna
pick from the other side to destroy their helicopter. Same principle, so these guys would have been full.
Oh my goodness. Sorry to interrupt you, Caribou, but he's got such a good angle on these two players. Gets the chopper bust, and now gets both of the downs. Beautiful play. Plenty of live pings coming out though, so this is what you love to see. Very helpful in situations like this. Ooh, gets the armor break and the down. Very well done. That AUG coming
in. There's a lot of resources being used to no avail from any of these other teams. Shots going down. And exactly that. You're just gonna flush them out, and that's it.
That it will be all she wrote, ladies and gentlemen.
In 2020,
the Warzone victory. Quite swift, and in a moment's notice, we thought too that
in 2020 we interrupted your regularly scheduled programming to bring you $250,000 worth of scholarships through Intel Inspires. Now, in 2021, we are the regularly scheduled programming. We are proud to announce the new AVGL high school program, backed by a myriad of colleges, influencers, and esports professionals. Up to $400,000 worth of scholarships, paid esports internships, content creator camps, and 50+ exclusive tournaments and events. We know the ropes, and after the experience granted to us through Intel Inspires, we're no longer tying knots, we're tying bows. Because esports isn't about skill, it's not about age, it's not even about experience, it's about attitude. And we at the AVGL are dedicated to bringing that attitude from the vault of the esports corporations and into your classroom. If there's one thing we've learned from a year at the forefront of collegiate esports, it's that professional gaming doesn't start with us. It starts with you.